Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you super easy chicken and biscuits or chicken and dumplings. They're both in there. So you're going to use a pound of chicken breast. This is boneless, skinless chicken breast. Mine's already cut up into pieces, but you want to cut it up. 1 can of flaky layer biscuits. These ones are from Aldi's. They're very inexpensive, 89 cents a can. Then you're going to need a can of Campbell's cream of chicken soup. Sorry about that. And you're going to need 10 ounces of unsalted chicken broth. This one is from Aldi. And then some poultry seasoning. Poultry seasoning can be found in the seasoning section of your grocery store. As well as some onion. Now, the amount of onion is a matter of personal taste. I'm going to use 1/4 of a large onion for 1 pound of chicken. So in a pot, we're going to put our cut up chicken. Now, if you've been around for a while, you see how I butcher my big package of family style boneless chicken skinless chicken breasts when I come home from the grocery store, and I take all the tenders off and I cut the tenders into little pieces and I freeze them that way so that they're ready to go for a quick and easy meal. This is much easier for me to do for the days when I don't have a ton of energy to stand and cut up chicken to add to a meal as well. And this is one of those great meals that you can make, I don't want to say while you have a disability, but it's definitely not one that you have to nurse at the stove, okay? You just spend a few minutes at the stove and the rest of it can be done sitting down, and then you wait while it cooks. So what I've done is I've dumped it in there. I put the burner on high. Now I am pouring in 2 cups of chicken broth. It's just half this box because I used the other half the first time I made it. But depending on, of course, how much chicken you use. So if you double this recipe, you want to double the amount of chicken broth. And I'm dicing up, 1/4 of a large yellow onion, and that is also a matter of preference. It's a matter of taste. You could take your onion to the box grater if you don't like to see big pieces of onion and you just want the onion flavor. You can also add other vegetables. Now, you know, we have particular tastes here, but I would, making this for myself, I would add some fresh carrot and celery to this mix as well as peas towards the end. But that's just me and that's my preference. So if you have been around, you know how we dice an onion. We take a couple of passes going parallel to the cutting board, and then we go a couple of passes going perpendicular to the cut edge, and then we're going to slice with the cut edge, and you'll see we'll end up with this nice dice. Okay? And I've done this to 1/2 of the onion so that it becomes 1/4 of the onion that we're using, okay? And then just take your knife, pass over it a few times if you feel like you have any big pieces left over. All right? And you're going to add this right to the chicken, to the pot as well, okay? Now I have this on high, and once I get it to a boil, I'm going to reduce it. This is all shot for you in real time because it doesn't take very much to prep it. You'll see by the time of the video, I think the whole video is 12 minutes, which means the cooking time, not the cooking time, excuse me, but the prep time itself is just about 12 minutes at the most. So while I'm waiting for this to boil, I'm going to get my poultry seasoning out. Now, poultry seasoning is just one we always used in our house, and I'm going to use a teaspoon of poultry seasoning, but you can do that to taste as well. I would do minimum of a 1/2 teaspoon, but definitely a matter of taste. You try it, you see if maybe next time you want to add more. Poultry seasoning, just a really good blend of spices that go really well with chicken and turkey. And then I just add it to this pot, and I make sure it comes to a boil. So this chicken is sort of going to be like boiled, but it's sort of like poached or braised because this isn't water. So if you were, just boiling chicken in water, it'd be boiling. But I believe that if you cook it in chicken stock, it's really more like poaching. And you're not covering it with liquid either. The chicken does stick above it, so it does poach a little bit. But you just want to do this just until till your onions get translucent. I forgot what I was going to say. So once it starts to come to a boil. Oh, I covered it. Okay. And then once it starts to come to a boil, I uncover it because you want to reduce that broth a little bit. Okay. And then you reduce it to simmer. And I just let it simmer for about 10 minutes, not very long. Again, you want to try to reduce the liquid some. But if you don't reduce the liquid some, there's other alternatives to it. But while that's cooking, I'm going to take the can of soup, and this is just Campbell's cream of chicken soup. You can get a generic. It doesn't have to be Campbell's. This is just, what we got. We really do like this one, so, but I've never really tried it with any other one, to be honest with you. So maybe it's better with one. And then, of course, Mom doesn't like black pepper, but I pepper mine when I go to eat it, but I would also add pepper to, not the cooking pot, but to the chicken soup, okay? And I also forgot to mention that we turned the oven on 375. I know you guys saw it back there, but I forgot to mention it. So you want your oven to be preheated. Now, the reason I picked 375 is because that's what the biscuits bake at, and I thought that would be a perfect starting point for this. I'm sure that there's recipes like this in the world, but I actually just came up with this one night because I had no idea what I wanted to make, and I wanted to make something different. Jim and I used to get this chicken and biscuit chicken pot pie thing from Banquet. Used to have these complete meals in a can, and we used to love them. And after my father passed away, we would make stuff like that. So then I was like, oh, you know what? Let me show everybody. Let me come up with something new. And then I came up with this, and I was like, oh, everybody loved it, so let me show it to you. So what I've done there, and I'm sorry that the film got compromised, but I cut the biscuits. I cut half the biscuits into quarter, and you guys know from the French toast video that I use my pizza cutter to cut my biscuits, but you could use a scissor or knife. But the pizza cutter and the scissor work better than the knife. But I cut 4 of the biscuits in quarters, and I cut 4 of the biscuits in half. The reason is that Jim really does love the dumpling-esque boiled biscuit. I don't know that sounds right because it's not really boiled, but what we're gonna do here, and you'll see. So you're gonna cook it just till the onions are translucent. Now this is done. All right, and I've used a slotted spoon because normally, if I'm not filming this for you, I scoop all the stuff out and put it in the casserole dish with the soup, and then I measure 1 can full of soup of broth into the recipe as well. But things didn't work out that way because I got totally distracted by my husband. So I just dumped the whole thing in there. But you want to just take 1 can full. That's why I didn't throw the can out. 1 can full of broth. Add to this, because you see here it is very liquidy, and it shouldn't be that liquidy. This is not objectionable. It's still very delicious, and but it's just a lot thinner than it would be if you only measured 1 cans full of broth, okay, or cooked it down till it was less broth. Then you're just going to stir it up, and I stirred it until like the big chunks of soup were blended away. All right, and remember this is hot, so be careful. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the quarter biscuits, and we're going to shove them underneath the liquid. And again, this is very liquidy, so I'm sorry. It wasn't intended to be this liquidy. And I just made this 8x8 casserole manages to get 4 rows of 4, so they fit perfectly. And the reason we're burying these is, like I said before, these take on more of a dumpling-esque. Like when you get chicken and dumplings, the dumplings tend to be like boiled dumplings or stewed dumplings. That's what these 4 biscuits are going to taste like underneath the top ones. All right, and once we have all 4 of them buried down, get them down in there. And you also want to distribute the chicken before. That's what I was doing when I was stirring this stuff around. Now I'm going to take the 4 that are cut in half, and I'm going to lay them on top. Now, one of the other tips is you can always do dollops of butter to the top of this, which would just make it a richer feeling, richer tasting, but it's not a necessity. And if you're minding as many calories as you can, you want to leave that out. It's not a necessity, but I'm not going to do that today. All right, and that's it. So now I just wait till my oven's preheated. I take it to my preheated oven, and we're going to put it in there, and we're going to bake it. The biscuits, this can of biscuits says 11 to 15 minutes. So I found that in here, with the biscuits that are buried, 20 minutes is the perfect amount of time to get the soup all golden bubbly and delicious, and to have the biscuits baked just to perfection. Now they just go to the middle of your oven. Now if you were doubling this, or if you were feeding more people, I know it's going to sound silly, but if you're feeding more people, you could actually put it in a lower casserole and spread the biscuits out a little bit, and you'll actually feel like you'll get bigger portions, but that's not necessarily true. So there we go. So we're going to set the timer for 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and it'll be perfectly, beautifully golden, bubbly, and delicious. All right? And after 20 minutes has passed, that's the only thing. I didn't stand around and watch me for 20 minutes. This is how it looks. It is amazing. Oh yes. Now to make this more pot pie-ish, definitely celery, carrot, peas at the end, possibly even cubed potatoes. But like I said, we have very particular tastes around here. So now what I'm doing is I'm setting the timer for 5 minutes because I wanted to let rest for 5 minutes to kind of firm up the sauce a little bit. But like I said, the first time I made it, I did measure out a can of the broth left over from the chicken, and it wasn't quite this runny, but I have to tell you, it was still very good runny. In fact, Jimmy takes the sauce, the soup, the sauce, and puts it over his broccoli, which he loved. So that's why I served it with peas and broccoli. I had peas mixed in with mine, and Jim had broccoli mixed in with his. Okay? So that's it, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed this recipe. If you do, give it a thumbs up. And as always, you take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Bye.